Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Theophilus. If you don't know who I am, you may have seen my face before. You may have seen my prior videos. I had about 120 videos. I was averaging about 2 to 3 views a video. Some views I got maybe 15, 20 views. Some shorts maybe 300. But I decided to delete it all. Was it kind of rash? Yes, I talk about it in depth in my previous video if you want to see that. But this is a new start. I felt led to restart. And it's a decision I made. I have files from my most recent videos that I might re-upload, but as of now, I'm standing firm on my decision, and I think it was the best decision for me to make in the long run. I think in 6 months, I'll probably have another 50, 60 videos that are at least getting 5, 10 views a video, and yeah, I think this was a good time to restart. And side note, I really like the lighting. I think it looks good, specifically on my skin. But welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about the loss of Top G, of Andrew Tate. If you know who he is, you probably do. He was the most Googled man on the planet for a long time. He got famous first from being a kickboxing world champion. I believe he made multiple belts. Then he was in kind of like the celebrity world for a little bit, had some controversial stuff there. Then he became like an online speaker, after building an online business, he became an online speaker, kind of a social media influencer. And, he's in what's called the manosphere, which is kind of a whole controversial topic in and of itself. I myself, I guess you could say I'm technically in the manosphere or red pilled or whatever. But I more want to focus on discipline, mindset, and finances, and getting your life in order, and not just running around chasing silly women or just trying to, just chasing validation, basically. I want to focus on things that matter more. And those other things I wanted to talk about, but I need to get myself together before I can even spend a lot of time doing those things. So, but yeah, Andrew Tate, whether you love him or hate him, the man, he made a name. He made an impact. His name has power. Simply by mentioning his name, there's power there. It like demands an emotional reaction out of people. And as you know, he became CEO of Misfits. Seems like he took basically the seat of CEO from a man named KSI, a man who I know about. And I know a little bit about him. I like one of the recent songs he made, actually. And he fought Chase Demore, who was the heavyweight champion of Misfits. A man who's like over 15 years younger than him, bigger, stronger, more active. And, Andrew Tate's been through the ringer. They put this man in jail seemingly for a crime that he absolutely did not commit. Still to this day, no real evidence. I know the real attempt was the slander on his name. That was supposed to be the real punishment, right? That's supposed to be the real. It doesn't matter if he was proven guilty or not. It matters that his name has been slandered as a human trafficker. That's what actually matters. That's what the attack was. When people do things like piss off the government or something like that, that's one of the tactics people will use. Is they'll try to shame you, they'll try to paint you as a bad person, they'll try to slander your name and drag your name through the mud, they'll orchestrate a narrative based off of a false narrative that they're painting, based off of if you know a little bit about mainstream media, you know how they do things. But love him or hate him, peel back the color your Bugatti, all the women and all the lavishness, and if you just listen to the logic that this man says, I think this man has some profound wisdom that you just don't see in most men. He has some really good sound understanding just about life, about success, about being a man, about masculinity. And if you are one of the people that think masculinity is evil and toxic, and that's you, but it's what builds the society. It's what stabilizes it. And I don't think that getting rid of masculinity is gonna make the world a better place. I think it's just gonna make it a much more emotional and chaotic place. I could talk about this thing in depth and what masculinity really is, what stoicism is. I'm not really a man of high status, or who would be called a high performing male, a top 10% male yet. I'm gonna get there. But yeah, those are conversations for another day. But he fought Jason Moore and he lost. He lost the first misfit fight, and Jason Moore continues his streak as the heavyweight champion. And there's a lot of controversy. Jason Moore was kind of a seeing. I don't know who the man is. I've been kind of plugged out from the internet for a while, but actually I found out who Andrew Tate was about a year ago. But yeah, he won the fight. I have things I could say, personally, just to give my brief opinion on the actual fight. I'm not a fighter myself, so I'm not the most qualified to speak about it. But from what I see, Andrew was doing good. He had good movement, really good defense in the beginning. He was getting a few hits in. Not really like he was hitting it. Like they weren't like critical blows, but he was really giving it his all. But it seems like maybe around the second or after the second round, he started getting more tired, and Chase just kind of kept leaning on him and just kind of wearing him out. If a bigger guy is leaning on you, you have to like wrestle with him and push him off of you, and it is what it is. I like how he carried himself. He said, "I'm not gonna make excuses. I lost. I lost the fight." I could give my own opinions on it, and you could argue I'm probably biased towards Andrew Tate because I really do like the guy. I like the wisdom that he has and his intellectual reasoning. I think it's really, really good. If you can get past you could say the offensive things that he says, I think he's a genuine man with a good amount of wisdom that anyone could really benefit from. But he got on live yesterday, or not. I don't know if it was. Yeah, he had an emergency meeting yesterday. If you don't know what it is, it's like little meetings he has with like his students. And I'm not personally one of his students, but I do listen to a lot of his content. And how he took his loss like a man. How he just took his L on the chin, and he's gonna keep it pushing. He's not discouraged. He's not beat down. He's not bucking and cowering. He's not thinking it's the end of the world. He's like, well, I took a loss. It is what it is. Life goes on. And I just want to talk about the wisdom that he had and how he took these losses and what I can learn from it. Because when he sat down and he talked about it, he talks about how, like, losses are things that happen. Like, people take losses. But how you move on from that's what will make or break you. And I just want to talk about the things that the wisdom that he gave. He also said that, he believes in spiritual things. He in some sense, he he at least acknowledges that there's like a higher he acknowledges there's a higher power, and he believes that everything happens for a reason, and he thinks that, it was probably the will of God or the universe and things like that that he lost. That maybe it was to teach other people that, you know, what he can teach in taking a loss. That there was purpose behind it, there was meaning behind it. It's not just something that happened, it was meant to be for some reason. And there's like a little bit of a philosophical, spiritual kind of meaning to it. But I want to talk about the things that I've learned from it. One thing he says that's very powerful is that he says life is chess. Life is like chess. And I'm speaking specifically for men here. If you are female, of course, by all means, watch all my content. But a lot of his audience is geared towards helping young men with intellectual reasoning and helping men to understand what life is like as a man, what it's like to be successful, what it's like to learn basic things like how to defend yourself and how to. He talks about women as well, because a man that's been with hundreds of women, of course, he would know how to get women and how to be in a good relationship with them and things like that, to some extent at least. That he says for men that life is like chess. If the king dies, game is over. As long as you don't die, life goes on. There are times where you may be forced to make a move because you didn't make a right move earlier. There are times when you're at an advantage. There are times when you're disadvantaged. You have to look at all the things that you have going for you in life, and you have to live life accordingly. You have to know which battles you can fight, which battles you can't fight. You got to be wise and tactical and skillful in how you approach life, because life is like a chessboard. And he said you can't undo moves in life. It's like in chess. He says in chess, if you lose, you just lose. It's different than, say, like a sport, where someone could be bigger, someone could be faster, someone could be stronger, and yeah, they've trained their body to get that, and that is good. But that's also like an advantage that they may have that you just don't have. I like to use this. This is a saying I might say a lot in the future, right? Because there's like the black spill space. This is going to be a little bit more of me ranting. So if you don't want to hear me ranting, just letting you know that's what this video is going to be about. Not ranting, but, and having an in-depth conversation. That's what a lot of my channel is going to be about. But there's this black spill space, right? People that are really kind of like incels, where, not all of them, some of them are more reasonable, but they have like this doom and gloom victim mentality where they say, well, like if you're just ugly, you just can't get women. If you're short, you just can't get women. If you're this, and it sucks that they have this mentality and that they teach this to other men, because then it's teaching other men to have a victim woe is me mentality. And if you have a loser mentality, what are you going to do? You're going to lose. Whether you're short, I capped out at 5'5". When I got 5'5" at 16, I did not grow another single inch. I know that woman was still attracted to me. So I have an okay physique, I still see women looking at me here and there. I don't get like all the female attention, but I can acknowledge that some women do indeed think that I'm an attractive male. And just because you're short, that's not doom and gloom. But anyways, if you want to have a loser mindset, you're going to lose. I'm 5'5", 5'4", somewhere around there. I don't think it matters that much, unless it's combat or sports. I don't get all the obsession about men's height. I think it's actually kind of feminine to be focusing so much on one attribute of a man, unless it's combat or sports. Right? Like, other than that, I mean, there's advantages to being tall. Sure, if I could make myself, I'd make myself 6'2". I think that would be the perfect kind of dream height. I think once you get above 6 feet, that's when you really start to maybe get like slower and like less. You know, I think 6'2" is like the perfect height for like something like boxing or like overall like combat. I think that's like the perfect height. If you're really skilled, like Muhammad Ali was 6'2". Like Tyson is 5'10". I think that's like a perfect height. But I'm me. God made me me. And I'm glad to be me. I like being me. I don't want to be anybody else. I don't want to be you. I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to be, I want to be me. I like me. I like who I am. If you want to be someone else, then go ahead. But I like me. I like who I was created to be. I'm fully confident in who I am as a person. And I'm 5'5". It's also like an extra flex, It's because you still have to compete in the game of life, right? I'm 5'5", but there's a guy that's 6'5" that wants the same girl I want, and maybe he's just as smart as me. Maybe he's more advantaged than me. Maybe he had a better upbringing. Maybe he has a better social circle. Maybe he has more money right now. Maybe he has a better mindset. Maybe he's more disciplined than me. Am I gonna give up on the competition because he's advantaged? You're still playing the same game. You're in the same competition whether you like it or not. So you might as well max out all your attributes, be as best of a person as you possibly can be as competent as you possibly can be, and compete. Go out there and do your best. But the saying I wanted to say is Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb. These were two NBA players that were like 5'3". They made it to the league. And a lot of people still remember who they are. They were not Michael Jordan. Okay, this is true. They were not Michael Jordan. It's arguable that they were just too short and couldn't be Jordan. Right? When it comes to combat and sports, okay, there's just something, it just is what it is. But they still got out there. And competed. I think Muggsy Bogues still kind of got on Jordan's nerve a little bit. Now he did call him a midget and kind of messed him up. Really messed up his mindset because it seemed like he was deep down insecure about his height. I don't believe I'm insecure about my height. I like being me. I love me. And that's how everyone should feel. Right? Of course, you should improve yourself and be the best you possibly can, but I like being me. Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb still made it to the NBA. They were not Jordan, but they still made it. Allen Iverson was about 5'10", and the man's basketball handles are legendary. Sip some coffee. I like to drink coffee with no sugar now. I like when your taste buds get used to more natural flavors, and it's not so reliant on like sugar and salt. It makes things taste better because then you can actually taste what you're tasting. You're not just tasting sugar. A little discipline thing. You don't have to do it, but you'd be surprised how much better you feel overall if your tongue gets used to natural tastes. But yeah, Jordan and Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb made it to the NBA. They were not Jordan, but they still made it. So, what kind of man are you if you refuse to take risks because you could lose? That hits deep. One thing I want to talk about briefly is I think a lot of people that make videos on people on YouTube, now some of them do it for likes and views, sure. But like, there's so many people I see that are just like angry with certain kinds of people, and they make videos on it, reviews. A lot of these people, it's like I can perceive a seething jealousy deep down, like, or envy. It's the proper word. Technically, jealousy is when you're jealous over something you already have. Like a woman's jealous over her man. She has the man, but she's jealous, or you could say protective. I think jealousy is a normal thing. I don't I don't think that jealousy should really be so demonized as it is. I don't think the jealousy itself is a bad thing. I think it's a normal human feeling, but what you do with the jealousy, I think that's what's good or bad. Just like anger. Someone could be really angry. Like sometimes I get really, really pissed off, like exceedingly upset. Where I feel like I'm gonna crash out. But I've learned mental control, mental fortitude, stoicism, and measures. Not nearly as good as it should be, but I've learned that, just because you're angry does not give you the right to pick on someone or disrespect anyone. No matter how angry you are, you still consciously have to choose to do that. Therefore, it's not right. The anger is not a problem. People always say, calm down, bro. I think it's perfectly fine for a man to be irritated and pissed off, especially at a circumstance. You know? Especially when he's been dealt a bad hand in life. And, he's trying to climb out of the pit that he's stuck in because no one taught him how to actually make money and actually be successful. And he just wasted years of his life chasing things that doesn't exist. And then he wakes up and he realizes, wow, I've wasted so many years of my life already. I'm halfway to 30. I was 18 6 years ago. I think it's fine to be a little bit irritated about that. I think that's perfectly fine. Now, what you do with that anger is what matters. If you get mad and then you run around and start yelling at people, or you're a big guy and you think I'm just gonna start beating random people on the street, of course, then that's bad. But just the anger itself is not bad. It's what you do with it. Can you control it like a hydroelectric system? River is like a river tide of emotion. Like a river tide of emotion. That's emotions are. That's what emotions are. They're like a river tide of feelings. A hydroelectric system is a system that stops the flow of the water, first and foremost, to where it doesn't go further than this much or that much. It traps the water, and it takes that energy and it converts it into electricity. That's what stoicism is. That's what masculinity does. It takes that energy and it focuses it and directs it, channels it and directs it. That's what masculinity really is. That's what you could say sexual transmutation really is. That's what I think Bruce Lee meant when he said, be like water. Be like water. When your emotions fill you up, you embody just who you are in the present moment. You let your emotions, you feel the emotions, and let your body channel and direct it like you would water. When you're angry, feel the anger, understand the anger, be able to think logically in the midst of the anger, and then let the anger just flow like a hydroelectric system, like water. I know I'm not getting it perfect, but I think that's more of what Bruce Lee said when he said be like water. I don't think he just meant be calm and be still, right? Because water's not always calm and still. Water goes in whatever direction it goes, wherever it can get, whatever is there for it to fill up. That's what water does. That's what emotions are like. And you should let your mind guide that water, direct it. If you refuse to take risks because you could lose, you're going to be a loser. If you refuse to take risks because you can lose, you're going to be a loser. You're going to lose at the game of life. You're going to be 30 and bitter and just angry, thinking, oh, where did the years go? Or if only I had did this. And you're full of regret. And if I look on this 6 years from now, I'm going to be a loser. I'm going to feel like a loser. There were risks I could have taken. There were chances I've had. There were opportunities I've had. There were things I could have done that I did not do because I was afraid of losing. Well, if you're not completely and utterly broke, what are you even really going to lose? If you're not going to die. If you're the king and you're not dying, maybe you sacrifice a chess piece. Which, in life probably isn't going to be a real person. Maybe an asset. Maybe an opportunity. Are you going to risk that because you don't want to lose? Well, the enemy's moving. Well, there are other people that are moving. You're going to lose if you don't do something, so you might as well do something. Like Andrew Tate said, ring dance. Do something. And whatever you do, give it all you've got and learn from it. That's what I'm learning. That's what men can naturally do. We could put all our focus in one thing. Charlie Morgan is who I'm mainly listening to. I'm mainly following his content. And that's what he talks about that. He talks about being like a hunter. Focusing all in on one thing at a time. That's what I need to do. I've learned when my mind is scattered in different directions, I can't really do anything. But when you're focused, you're in that flow state, you're able to do a lot in doing one thing. I don't know if I'm looking too bright here. If you care about others' opinion, they already own you. If Andrew Tate would have only fought for validation of other people, he said it, he would have been owned by other people. He would have only been wanting to fight just because he was going to win and they were going to say, hey, top G. He said it. He could have fought someone smaller than him. He could have fought someone the same age as him. But he chose to fight someone bigger than him, 15 years younger than him, and, stronger, probably, and more active than him. Like, the man's coming out of a Romanian jail cell. Like, he has not been active. He's been going into entrepreneur. He still trains, but as far as consistent fighting, he hasn't been doing that outside of sparring. And it is what it is. He knew he could lose. He knew he could lose the fight, and he still chose to fight because he wanted to prove to himself that he has what it takes. And he said when he felt fear and thinking about Chase Demore, he hated having that feeling, and he faced that fear. And he said he couldn't live with himself if he just chose not to fight because he was scared. And there's a fine line. He compares himself to being an old lion that wanted to get out there with the young lion. Maybe he couldn't hang with the young lion, but he still wanted to get out there because he wanted to prove to himself that in the face of fear, I will still be courageous. In the face of fear, I will still do what needs to be done. He took the risk knowing he could lose, and he just said, I don't care about the validation of other people. He didn't want to win so that everyone could say, hey, top G. And he didn't mind losing and having people talk about him on the internet that are never going to be where he is, that are never going to be nearly as successful as he is, that just aren't going to see that kind of success in life. Most people aren't. It's possible I won't. But a lot of people are so angry and bitter and hateful and jealous that's like the real reason they're actually making videos about him. That's the real reason why a lot of people attack him so much. A lot of people are jealous of this man. And you know what they say? If you can't beat him, join him. If you cannot compete with the man, Rather than trying to tear him down, why not learn? This is something, a mindset that I want to have in the future, right? If there's another guy and he's getting all the girls, and I'm with him, and I'm just, I mean, okay, maybe when I go out, well, hey man, you gotta go over there, and I'm gonna go over here. You get those girls over there, I'm gonna get, maybe you have to do that. But if he's getting all the girls, should I just be angry and not leaving no girls for me? Or should I learn? What is he doing that I'm not doing? Maybe he's advantage. Maybe he's a foot and a half taller than me. Okay, and what next? What else is he doing? Yeah, like something like height will get you like in the door. It will attract a lot of attention. But tall guys get dumped too. Tall guys get played. They get the circle ran around them. Once you get a woman, you still have to learn how to keep her. You still have to keep that attraction to where she doesn't, you know, lose respect for you. And then when you're twice her size, she thinks she can disrespect you and talk to you all kinds of ways and, you know, play the circus with you. Have you be an observer of the circus. Have you jumping through hoops. Be a participant in the circus. You know, so like, yeah, like height will get you in the door, or being really good looking, or having some kind of status, or showing that you have money, depending on how you do it and the kind of person you are, can get you in the door. But if you don't understand female psychology and female sexuality, you're not gonna get far. Anyways, if you can't beat that man, why not join him? Why not learn from him? Why not learn from him? Let him get the girls and observe. What is he doing that I'm... Hey, man, how are you getting those girls like that, man? Height. Learn. It's sad to me. And it's one thing I think I will even I will pray about. That I don't become some angry, jealous, hating, hateful person. A lot of people are preying on this man's downfall. Not just because of the moral argument that they think that he's a bad person, because a lot of these people aren't really much better. But I digress. If you can't beat him, join him. And Andrew Tate didn't care that people on the internet would be typing with their Twitter fingers about him and making videos about him. He said he knew it would happen if he lose, and he still chose to fight. He was not afraid to take that risk, and you've got to respect the man for that. Chase Damore, after he blatantly disrespected him openly on national television, after he got in the ring with that man, he said, I respect him. I respect him, and they shook hands after fighting like men. Yeah, they didn't fight to the death, or so. I'm glad, nothing. They were able to handle it in a more professional way. They had a professional fight together, But at the end of the day, what happened? They shook hands. When they first were pissed off at each other, they now respected each other. They shook hands. And Andrew Tate congratulates the man on being the champion. Chase said that Andrew Tate instilled in him fortitude and resilience. He helped him with his mental toughness. And he said if Andrew Tate's the older man and he was able to teach Chase something through fighting, his unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability, making him a feared opponent in any human endeavor. If he was able to show that man something while being 15 years older, still getting out there with him, as the older man who's had more life experience, and he kind of feels like the master passing on the knowledge to the student, even though he's not directly his student, he learned from him. He was able to teach the man something through fighting. The man said, I've never been hit that hard in my life. By Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate's pushing 40. The man is pushing 40. The man's 15 years older than me. And still fought. One thing I really, I love to see. Yeah, the fight might not have looked the best, you know. There was a lot of leaning and grappling and grabbing, and there was jokes, you know. There's jokes. There was some jokes in the comments, like it was like toddlers fighting and all this, and two men hugging for this much time. Yeah, it was kind of funny, you know. There's the jokes, but in all seriousness, like, man, Andrew Tate took some licks. He took some licks. Got back up. He never stopped. Man, bigger than him, stronger than him, more active than him. He did not stop. He kept getting up. He kept that's and he said top G stands for top get up. He kept getting up and he kept fighting to the end. And even though he lost the fight, you gotta respect that. I'm not a fighter. Who am I to try to criticize them and act like I'm better? I'm sure both those men could knock me out. I'm not a trained fighter. I've never learned. I've barely taken a few hits to the face. I don't even know what it's like to really get in that ring and be under that pressure. Whether from Chase or Andrew's side, I don't know what that's like. So all I can do is look on and respect from the sideline as I watched. I wasn't physically there, but you know what I'm saying. The man was tired. Chase kept leaning on him, kept leaning on him, kept grabbing him, kept grabbing him, kept grabbing him. And just how he kept fighting. How he just would not let up. He said, the man instilled no fear in my heart. He was so courageous. He just kept going and kept going and kept. I was like, man, I was like, this is a different kind of man. Even when he's losing the fight, he just doesn't give up. And I talked about that in my last video that, yeah, life is going to knock you down. Life is going to, boom! Life is going to throw some mean licks at your jawline. Life's going to hit you in the eye. It's going to hit you in the nose a few times. It's going to bust your lip open a few times. It's going to get some good body shots. I haven't been hit that hard body shots, but I've done like practice boxing. You know, with guys bigger than me, just a little bit. Very, 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 very little. I'll emphasize how little I have actually practiced fighting. Man, just taking a few little, like, a few of those. Oh, 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 oh. A few, man, it start to hurt. Start to hurt. But life is going to knock you down. But it's about how tough and resilient you're going to be, how hard you're going to fight. And then when you get knocked down, how fast can you get back up? This brings me to my last point. He said this is the key. Your mind must be able to instantly regenerate. Yeah, your body's finite. Your mind's finite too, but how tough is your mind? When life body slams you, how fast can you get back up? How fast can you get back up and keep going? Take your L on the chin. One thing you can't say is that man did not take that L on the chin. Smiling as he passed the cigarettes to the other guy. You gotta respect it. You gotta respect it. Yeah. And yes, I am biased towards Andrew Tate. I really like the guy. I really like the man. I really like what he stands for. And how courageous he's been in the face of all the attacks, all the slander. You just gotta respect it. But I'm not gonna keep going on and on, you know. But this is what I've learned from seeing Andrew Tate's loss. And how to be tough, resilient, to have unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability that will make you a feared opponent in any human endeavor. I like the part where he talks about his child as well. Son says, "Dad, what happened?" Said, "I lost the fight." You're gonna lose fights too, but you gotta get up and keep trying. Isn't that a beautiful lesson? It's wonderful. Wonderful. And I think we could all learn from this loss that he took. And how Andrew Tate's is finding, I like the moment he talked about with his brother after, where, his brother's like, I hate that you have to just go through so much and just be dragged, and the world's just beating down and beating down and beating down on you. He's like, I hate that you have to go through so much, but you always find the silver lining in the clouds. Lovely. Wonderfully said. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I think we can all learn from his loss. And maybe it was God's sovereign will that in this time he would have something other than say that I'm top G and all I do is win. He could show the world how to have some humility when you lose. How to be tough. How to take your L on the chin and get up and live to fight another day. If you watch that Friday movie, I actually never really watched it in depth, but I like that part where he says, this don't make you a man. It's these, because you live to fight another day. Let us all live to fight another day. Let us have unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability. Make all of us feared opponents in any human endeavor. Let us all live to fight another day. Let us learn to play the skill in the game of chess and life wisely. Let us all learn from this. And not just try to kick the man while he's down, but let us all learn from this whole thing. And shout out to Chase DeMore as well. He earned his win. So that's all. See y'all in the next one.